What's going on, y'all? We are here with Mr. Joe Daniels at Swing This Kettlebell in Latonia, where are we? Kentucky?
We're in Kentucky.
So Joe, you're obviously someone who I've been following for a long time, someone who I have tremendous respect for. For those who may not know, tell us a little bit about your gym here and your style of training.
I guess the old now buzzword would be functional training. I train people to reach the goals that they tell me that they have, and usually that definitely does not involve machines. I try to get them away from, just the aesthetics and stuff like that, unless that's going to be something that really helps them mentally. Obviously if someone wants to lose 200 pounds, I'm not going to turn them right away into a power lifter or a kettlebell sport athlete and try to lose those 200 pounds. Make them a little bit better, more efficient at their life and what they do. If, people, I try to get people outside, use the facility that I have. I love kettlebell training. I feel that it adds so much depth to training programs and depth of ranges of movement and things like that, all that stuff. For 90% of the people that I work with, whether they're powerlifters looking for more mobility or more connection with their body, more flexibility, tissue quality is a big thing that we work on. I work with a lot of therapists and professionals in the fascial realm and things that people argue about. You know what it is now, but like what we do, the stuff increases people's range of motion, it decreases their pain, it decreases their joint stiffness, it allows them to take the brakes off their skeleton, whether that's from overdoing certain exercises or wrenching or typing and stuff like that, or just bad postural things they might be doing through the day, whatever makes them feel a little bit better. If people want to compete, I like competition kettlebell lifting. For me, I feel that it's safer on people's shoulders, as it's meant for repetition. It's meant for focus, intensity, strength, endurance, all that, and it's in the hundreds of reps instead of one, something like that. Like I like strength. I like, who doesn't? I like being strong and doing stuff, but the biggest thing is I like injury prevention, being aware of your environment and how you move through that environment.
Now obviously you have found success in the past with bodybuilding. You were just showing me some of your old photos there from your competition, and then obviously somewhat of a shift certainly in probably your perspective on health and training. So what was the impetus or the catalyst that drove you more into this particular style and approach to health and fitness?
Well, basically I was always a drug-free athlete. Bodybuilding got me into, I don't tell everybody about it, but exercise became a way for me to get out from playing music and drinking and doing a lot of other things too much. So this gave me a goal, and someone said, hey, I bet you won't do a bodybuilding competition. I'd never seen one, but I knew what it was. I said, I'll do one. And then why did I say that? It's like rock climbing. It's like, yeah, I'll climb that. Why did I say that? I hate heights. So anyway, did
but once you're committed, you're there.
Yeah, I kind of got in my head, and I'm that type of person. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do everything I can to get it done without injuring myself or other people around me, because that was my shift. Like before, I was very selfish and playing music and doing whatever I wanted to do, be a rock star and whatever.
Sure.
But anyway, so it became bodybuilding and got up to the national level and did really well. But I just kept thinking it as this is a controlled starvation. Mm-hmm. This is something like I've done it, but I just got caught up into it. I'm seeing all these things happen to people, and I started to speak out against it. I felt like I could because I was experiencing it. I did well. It wasn't just like a low person saying this is bad.
Right.
I did a lot of stuff and saw some people doing some things that I thought maybe mentally wouldn't be good for them, and they started getting kind of crazy and neurotic about certain things. I'm like, where's your life at? So, people would ask me, what do you like to do for cardio? I'm like, mountain bike. Well, that's too much work. Right. Is it? You asked me how I got this way, and I'm telling you. Everyone's backlashing and fighting one ways, but it's in everything. It's in powerlifting, it's in kettlebell sport, it's in racing, it's running, it's in everything. A lot of people think they know what is exactly best because of the wonderful internet that we have, and there's so much information. But anyway, I try to have an open mind and try a little bit of everybody's stuff, you know. So I got into kettlebells because I hurt my shoulder, trying to get my shoulders bigger for bodybuilding.
Mm-hmm.
More weight, more reps, more of this, more of that. Everything was more. Once I found out like tissue work, I got this book called the Frozen Shoulder Handbook, and I learned a little bit like myofascial stuff and basically trigger point acupressure. Started feeling better with that, and then I really got into the tissue health and learning more and more about the nervous system and how recuperation and recovery. Grabbed a kettlebell. It was incredibly hard. You know, you go from curling things like, whoa, look how much I can go, to not being able to swing what you could just curl without getting yanked on your face. So that sparked an interest in me. I didn't like doing that. I didn't like being pulled around by weights. I like to be the one in control of them. So it opened this whole new fascination between kind of like physics and body environment mechanics and things. And then it was helping people, and I had people I worked with saying, oh, that's a terrible idea. Why are you going to go away from what you know? And like, because that's how I grow, is learning new things. And so try to get people outside, do more stuff. You know, if you haven't rode a bike in 40 years, but you used to love it, what's the difference? Let's get you back into it. It's progression. It's the same thing as lifting weights. Like, let's progress. I mean, you can be a 40-year-old and have training wheels if you need to.
Right.
But people are so like, oh, I'm gonna do that. I'm afraid of everybody. Everybody's afraid of what other people think. You know. So if you want to do something, go out and start some other stuff. You know. You don't have to get on a unicycle right away. It's really hard anyway.
Yeah, you know, that brings up a point. You know, in this day and age, it almost seems like a lot of times people will ask leading questions just to point the finger and say, oh no, you're doing it wrong. You know, and that's certainly something that I think in some ways, you know, we may have all, you know, been guilty of, but I think especially in this industry, if you want to grow and if you really want to help people in the way that they need to be helped, it behooves you to ask the questions and to explore these avenues with the mindset of not, is this the right or the wrong thing, but how can it be useful? How can it be applicable to me and the people that I train? Speaking of which, you've got a couple of your clients warming up for your next session over here. Tell us about some of the things that you like to have people do when they come into your gym, I guess both for, I'm not sure if you do classes or just personal training, but...
Little bit of both.
Yeah, so what are some of the things that you like people to do both here in the gym and maybe for homework?
Get off your cell phone.
Oh, whoops.
That's a catch-22 for me. Like, tell people, like, you know, if you want to do something really, really well, you have to do one thing at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So if I might do a squat, something like, and then do an Instagram video. It's hard because I'm trying to be able to promote. When you have a business, you got to be able to teach, and you know, unfortunately, if there's 25 plus gyms within a 5-mile radius, you know, you have to put out information if you want people to know what you're doing. I'm in one of the most niche business, two of the most niche businesses I could think of, fitness and mental health and therapy wise. So I always have to be putting something out. And
absolutely.
What's up, dog? Speaking of therapy, these are therapy dogs.
So we know Bruce the pug.
Yeah.
And who's this?
That's Penny. Bruce is kind of like an internet star.
Yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, like when people could get here, we like to, you know, focus on what you're doing. Neuro connection. So visualization. Work on stability, because a lot of people are trying to get strong and they have no connection to what, you know, you might be strong in just a squat, but let's shift your feet 2 inches wider. 1 inch wider. And all sorts of stuff affects everything. It affects tension relationship through your whole body. I liked to do a squat with, let's say, if I could think of 50 variations. Yeah, they don't have to have 200 pounds on your back, 500 pounds on your back. I love to see people doing body weights. It doesn't have to be progressive calisthenics for a 60-year-old woman, but manipulating their skeletal system through their environment the use of their muscles, listening to their brain, reacting to the environment. That's what I try to kind of teach. And I think I like a lot of stabilization stuff. People give like BOSU balls and stability discs and slack lines. I think of people that give stuff a bad name. Like, you don't need to be doing slack line over the Grand Canyon to benefit. You don't even have to be walking on it. But I can show a lot of people, Bruce, you're stealing the show, man. Like to give people more insight, more biofeedback into their body. And, if they're used to walking on the ground all the time, they're just not going to get that. And all of a sudden they start walking over gravel and people are getting hurt just because you walked over, gravel.
Yeah.
But that's one of the reasons why I think kettlebell training is so interesting. It fits a lot of people. Like, it's black on black. It's when people understand how to utilize a kettlebell that weight is basically revolving around your wrist instead of it's not a static, similar place like a dumbbell. Even a barbell in Olympic lifting, you're going to, a more extended position. A lot of people, it doesn't fit.
Yep.
Lever length, the same thing as I don't force, if you came and said, I want to learn kettlebells, I wouldn't immediately be like, oh, well, you are going to be a national class kettlebell sport athlete, because that competition isn't fitness.
Right.
Fitness isn't competition as much as, and like I said, in my opinion, I'm going to say it, that I don't think people doing CrossFit all the time is a great idea for most of the people that do it. For a lot of people, it's wonderful.
Yep.
But for a lot of people, it's not. Have that, especially if they're people that are very, very stressed out. Maybe they work, 16 hours a day, and but I go to the gym and I train really, really hard. But you're also sitting in a position that it's very hard to, I think there's other things that they could do a little bit better instead of adding more super high intensity, maximal effort every time. And that's why I think we're seeing a lot of CrossFit gyms actually going back to a more personal training-ish or small group based, individualized routine.
Yeah.
I know there's been over 3 of them that were pretty big CrossFit gyms in this area that have moved back into doing more personalized stuff.
Yeah.
Because injuries.
Yeah.
Every place is going to have injuries. Like there's been some injuries here, but there's been very, very few injuries down here. A lot of people think kettlebells are incredibly bad on your shoulders. We've had 1 shoulder injury in over 6 years. 1. I mean, I don't know how you can say that that's bad. And I train kettlebells almost everything. Huge YouTube channel full of even somewhat crazy exercises that, and like, oh, it's circus-like. Okay, well, somebody's gonna be in a circus.
Right.
But there's still very little injuries in that because progression.
Yep.
That's not something a beginner does. It's not something I would have a beginner do. If I'm gonna do something out there, I don't expect other people to. I said, well, this is where you can get to, and then please review my last 6 years of videos and tell me how bad the form was on my videos 1 through 10.
Right.
They're there. I've kept them there for a reason, so people can't, say, oh, well, you've always been that way. It's not true.
Right.
Everyone learns. Everyone starts at 0. Everyone slackline walking. I told you. Pretty stable there.
Nice.
Yeah. You can see it, but it's awesome.
Yeah.
So just trying to get something that'll benefit everybody, and I think working on that nervous system. I mean, I think a lot of people's the old bodybuilding term, mind-muscle connection, or something like that. I mean, your mind and your brain are very different. Like your mind, and we might have the same brain, right?
Right.
But our mind is changed through experiences, through learned behaviors, through all sorts of things. So it's more like brain connection, right?
Yep.
But it doesn't sound good. My
Right.
M&M. Being brain muscle connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so one of the overarching principles that it sounds like overall that we're talking about here is the balance between training and recovery, smarter training and smarter recovery, which apart from the whole mobility conversation also leads us into a recent path on your entrepreneurial journey with the float tank.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about what exactly a float tank is and how it might benefit the people who are training super hard.
Okay. It's usually when you're training super hard, you're looking for other. You're kind of more into, like, some people are into more nutrition. They're into maybe getting chiropractic and care and massage and stuff like that. There's also people that don't like that. There's also people that are into certain, say training or running to be by themselves. And that's great. And there, people aren't going to be people that want their hands all over and, and like fix my psoas,
Right.
and like even in this country, like I don't know how many times I've been to a place, I'm like, can you work on my glutes? And they're like, I don't really do that.
Right.
Well, that's a major point. I gotta find somebody that does, and it's not. You're not looking for, like, people just give. I don't know. When this country, touch is a really taboo thing.
Sure.
And it's very important. I mean, but anyway, flotation tank. I thought, I got into it. It's wonderful. Just felt it. Didn't say a word to anybody. One person knew that I haven't tried it. I've been looking at it since about 2010 when I first started taking transdermal magnesium spray to heal from high repetition kettlebell training. Magnesium transdermal spray is basically what you're floating in. So it's magnesium sulfate. It's 800 to 1,000 pounds of magnesium sulfate, Epsom salts in skin temperature water. Okay, so it's about 10 inches deep. Everything's different. There's all different types of ones, from tanks to tubs to open float rooms and things like that. But the biggest thing is to decrease why do you go out? People like to go hiking. Why do they go hiking? Because it takes away the cars and the dogs and the fighting and the this and the, it's turning down your external stimulus. Okay, you're out there on a walk in the woods. Yeah, there's dangers, but I mean, it's not the same thing as, not paying attention where you're at on the bus line.
Right.
And, driving, like, people don't realize the stuff that we do all day takes so much brain power that we're doing just with our, not even paying attention.
Yep.
Driving.
Yep.
They're one of the most dangerous things you can possibly do.
Sure.
And people are literally flipping through on phones and not paying attention. There's 400 other cars, giant traps, death traps, they're not even paying attention to.
Yep.
Because you've done it for so long. So
Yep.
another thing, it allows to tone that down so the brain can get the rest that it needs. It's basically a concentrated dose of sleep, which a lot of people have abnormal sleep patterns, and they're trying to do too much. Like one of the signs of overtraining is when you can't sleep correctly.
Yep.
Insomnia keeps going. You may just not be able to do it. You wake up and you need 4 pots of coffee. I mean, we had one nice cup. I mean, but that's more. I didn't need it.
Right.
Have a nice taste.
Yeah.
There's people that literally drink constantly all day to get going. Like, they can't do anything. To me, that's not what I want.
Right.
I don't want to be able to only deadlift 500 pounds if I'm only wearing these.
If the stars
shoes.
align.
Right. So because the stars won't always align,
Yep.
and it's the same thing. It might take you 5 hours to get home, but someday it might take you 10.
Yep.
Are can you handle that? Can you just take that tiny little back road and just understand how to get there and make the small little detour that's not going to throw everything off, that's not going to throw you off the wagon, all this stuff, to adapt and just to be a human and use your brain a little bit more and not just run on autopilot all the time. So anyway, that's a rant. Flotation, it helps with muscle tension. It helps with joint tension because it's allowing the muscles the brain turns them down. That's what sleep does.
Yeah.
So it's just like I said, it's a concentrated dose of sleep. It allows you to recuperate, basically rebooting. You have 400 programs running on your computer. Pretty soon it'll get kind of sluggish.
Yep.
Same thing with us. We start thinking, multitasking. You get to the point where your brain is saturated with processes that you're trying to do, and you're not doing any of them well.
Right.
You're not applying focus to, so it's a easy way to meditate. And I know people think that word is such a weird one, but meditation pretty much is just a focus of fully focusing on your intention, what you're trying to do. If you're meditating about focusing on doing your deadlift or work, that's what it is. It can be that. It doesn't have to be. You're not out there trying to solve problems. You're not out there thinking about work. You're doing that deadlift, or you're doing that 10-minute kettlebell snatch set or whatever. And if you're not in that, chances are it's not going to happen.
Right.
If thinking about other stresses. A lot of people go to the gym for stress relief. But like I said before about the thing about certain exercise systems, you can take a good stressor, a eustress, and add too many of them, too often, too much volume and all stuff, and turn that eustress into a new distress.
Right.
So you can, if deadlifting 2 times a week is good, at what point does 5 become bad?
Right.
Like, you got to find out what works optimally for you. And sometimes when you're following programs, remember, they're just numbers, right? They're recommendations. They're based off of a general consensus, right?
Yeah.
Like a big pool of people. We're going to be very different, even if we got a deadlift program from Chris Duffin.
Mm-hmm.
You and I, but that's the thing, like working with some of the stuff like that they do, like auto regulation and working on speed. Like if your nervous system can't adapt as fast as mine, how can we stay on the same program? How can we stay on week 2, day 3?
Right, you can't.
You might be ahead of me, and that's totally cool with me. I'm not, like I said, I'm the ego lifter. I'm trying to lift better for me. But there's a lot of things, heart rate variability we can work on. And back to the flotation tank, it allows you to have a lot more biofeedback. It allows you internal interoception. Is basically you understanding more about your inner workings. The tank teaches you more about yourself. And a lot of people have been in there and they've noticed that through less external stimulation, it's quiet, it's dark if you want to, all this stuff if you want to, it's quiet, it's dark, there's no smell. Pretty soon the feeling kind of goes away because it's skin temperature, and you're just suspended. You're floating without any neck tension, without any back tension. I mean, I like to sit like this because I'm stretching the whole time, but pretty soon I'm going to start getting tight in certain areas because I just don't sit.
Right.
I stand all the time. Probably the opposite of people we work with. They sit all the time, and it hurts when they're on their feet for a long time.
Yep.
It's kind of the opposite. So that's why I keep, moving around and changing positions. And hey, dude. But yeah, so it's just such a wonderful thing. I've been doing it for about 2 years now. I went before surgery, post surgery. I've had people come in when they've had, the thing about stress really affects you physically. Mental stress really affects you physically. You have a death in the family, certain things like that. Like if it's somebody that's so really close to you and just put it out of your mind, it's still there.
Yeah.
So a lot of these things you need to work on, and that allows you to work on without being influenced by everything else around you or people and stuff like that. And it's a really cool tool, both physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and it's just such a weird thing that people don't understand that you can actually make big gains by doing nothing.
Right.
Sleep is nothing, and everyone talks about you better get good quality sleep. Even sleep. Look at lights, look at LED, and there's a reason why certain LED colors. You ever notice the blue? The blue illuminates the room.
Yeah.
You ever notice the red? Red LED really doesn't.
Right.
It's different. Anyway, I'll talk forever. But yeah, so sleeping, being on a bed that could be $4,000. Doesn't matter how much it is. If it doesn't allow you to sleep right, you might be better on one that's $800.
Right.
But just so it allows you to help fix some of those issues. But yeah, really, really good for the nervous system, especially if you're doing something that takes a whole lot of connection. Competition powerlifting, Olympic lifting, airplane flying, stuff like that. Kettlebell sport. something where you really need focus, driving in your car.
Yeah.
You know, we had one of our busiest days was the day before Thanksgiving. Look how many people have family that they have to deal with. They might not like. You know, it happens, and
Yeah.
there's all sorts of people. You know,
course.
we have doctors and people that take everyone else's stress and try to help them. Trainers.
Most certainly. Most
Trainers.
certainly.
I mean, you're taking people and you're trying to problem solve
Yeah.
for them, and you know, a lot got to talk and whatever. And some people, you know, like had clients I've had, you know, had hugs and tears with. You know, it's like you get to know people because you care.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't, but when you do, that's a stress.
Yeah.
You're taking and you're worrying and wake up in the middle of the night worrying about how John's feeling because of how John felt 4 to 6 hours ago.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things, you know. I think a lot of good coaches really get on the same level as people. You know, they walk those sometimes miles in their shoes, or at least they think about it.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
or they get picked on for wearing their shoes. Like,
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I think you know, that certainly touches on a point that, especially, it's interesting, the term program or programming. In some respects, you must respect that the human body is not a computer, and it's not like you can put in, you know, you can't exactly download the software or the program and expect a one-for-one result, you know, for input. And I think especially, you know, us as strength coaches and personal trainers and people who are entrusted to a certain degree with people's health and fitness, that we need to start paying more attention to the differences between eustress and distress, and of course the importance of, you know, recovery in any form that might take for the people that we train.
was an interesting point that I just put my hands in my pocket and I realized that I had this. So
Heart
basically,
strap.
my heart rate monitor. Think about this. Anybody say, go with your gut. What do you feel in your heart? That's real, like incredibly real. But people aren't connected to it anymore because they're so
Right.
connected to what's on the paper, what this scratch on a wall says or whatever. But there's a lot of things you can learn through what your heart's doing when you wake up in the morning. Heart rate variability to determine whether you're in a really strong sympathetic nervous system and you're actually pushing it too much. Maybe you need to relax. Maybe you need to take some time off. Some of my favorite programs are so simple. 5-3-1, stuff like that. Like, there's a whole week of deload, and I don't know how many clients that I've worked with, I said, okay, if you want this strength, barbell strength, just do 5-3-1, then we're gonna work on your kettlebell sport. And they're like, so this deload week thing.
What's that all? Is that really necessary?
Can I just go max out then? No. There's a reason. There's a reason. So I love seeing programmed stuff with time off. Like, go play. Like, you know, if you go out and do some stuff. But anyway, like, go with your gut. Like, think about all your intestine. I mean, everything. Your gut has some of the same neurochemicals, and they contribute back and forth. They talk back and forth with your brain.
Your second brain.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. The same thing is, like, we just did some calf work. What helps venous blood return to your heart? When you walk, your calves help.
The movement.
Yes, movement. Like, we don't want to be stagnant. Think about this. If we have muscle tissue that is so tense all the time, we have people with peripheral artery issues because they have muscle that is so tight and they don't realize it.
Yep.
They might not even be weightlifters. It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah.
They're, you know, chronically tense, just focus on drive and whatever, just massive stress. You will protect your neck in times of stress.
Yep.
And that's just the thing. So anyway, you have muscles that are so tense, cutting off blood supply, cutting off nerves. I mean, it's crazy. Like, you can't, you know, interesting. But anyway, so your brain's talking all the time. It's responding. It's never not doing anything. And the biggest thing about that flow tank, I hear people, so I just go in there and I can't turn my brain off. You shouldn't. That's not the point. And you can't.
Yeah.
What you can do is apply focus to something, or even just go in there and just happen. You know what I mean? Focus on how your back feels. Loosen up. Allow that dispersed weight. You know, gravity's different now.
Yeah.
It's basically, instead of gravity, it's
Dispersed.
gravity. Yeah, it's very interesting. It takes zero effort to float in that. I mean, we were in a liquid environment for 9 months of our lives, and there's a lot of development that happened then, and a lot of people come out and they feel very, very different just from one time. Sometimes it kind of blows people's mind. Some people said, I didn't want to even believe how good I felt, and I couldn't.
Right.
And it took them weeks before they came back, and then they let go and finally said, wow, I just felt something that I didn't think possible. I didn't think it was that possible to feel that relaxed and euphoric. I mean, when you allow your brain to have a chance to stop sensing everything, that's what sleep should be. You should wake up refreshed.
Yep.
You should wake up and, not be worrying all night. And I know people have business. You can't really stop that. It's really hard, especially when you might be struggling or starting something new, and especially trying to reach people. And if I could just do more. Well, but at some point you're going to do so much that you can't do anything. I've met people that have literally. It's hard to believe, but they've been so stressed out that they've woke up almost paralyzed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've met 2 people in my life that stress. The doctor said it's stress. So, these are people that took care of themselves. These are people that, some were athletes, just doing so much. Like the brain, but the mind can be so strong. You can tell yourself, I feel no pain. You can say, no pain, no gain, all the time. Like, at some point, there is a lot of pain. So my thing is now, less pains, more gains.
There you go.
It's kind of a little interesting little motto I'm working on now, is doing through the mobility, and not just mobility, because you might be so flexible you can become a contortionist now, but you're a construction worker. It doesn't help you.
Right.
You have yoga instructors that come in and want to do stuff. Why are they stretching? They're hypermobile. They're individuals that were placed into some place. Like, you might love powerlifting because of your mechanical advantage. I might love kettlebells because I'm really good at hand-eye coordination or something like that. People might like yoga because they did a couple things, they got in and they could do all the moves that most people in the class couldn't, and they felt really good. They're hypermobile.
Yeah.
A lot of them. But why would we take those people and stretch them? Why would we try to get them more range of motion? I'm actually, some people that I work with, like, you have to find everyone so different. What can help them? What benefits them the most? Those people might need to be a little bit more tight for their goals. If their goal is to get stronger, if someone takes a 35, 40-pound kettlebell over their head and they're hypermobile in the elbow joint, and all of a sudden, they lose it.
Yep.
There goes the shoulder. All of a sudden, rotator cuff issues now, and now no more yoga teaching, and no more handstands, and no more hand balances, and things like that. It's gonna find what works best for the person's goals.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Joe, thank you so much for your hospitality, for the coffee, for having me here at your gym. Thank you so much. Where can people find more about you online, or I guess here in person if they might be local?
Yeah, I mean, we're in Cincinnati area. We're in Covington, right across the river from downtown Cincinnati, 5 or 6 minutes away. JoeDanielsWellness.com has access to everything that we do, whether that's nutritional habit counseling, the stress management, whether that's floating or working with other professionals in the area, kettlebell sport functional training, and our YouTube channel is pretty big. I've been working really heftily and steadily on that. Okay, Penny?
Yeah, there we go.
She'll definitely sit down on you. But the YouTube channel is Swing This One. Basically just type in kettlebell, swing this, you'll find us.
There you go.
Yep, there's Penny. She's pretty good. But so we're working on a lot of stuff in holistic, all-around way for people, and trying to connect other professionals, like yourself, in different areas of the country, and people that share our similar philosophy on just making helping humans feel better.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be the strongest person. It doesn't have to, whatever. As long as we're helping people continue to make strides in their lives, and then maybe they can take that knowledge and help their family and community and stuff like that. And I think that's a good wealth that'll help everybody.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, again, Joe, thank you so much, man.
No problem,
It was a
man.
pleasure chatting, and yeah, hope to chat with you again real soon.
Cool.
You got it. Hey, what's up, guys? Zach here. I hope you enjoyed hearing from Joe Daniels. If you are interested in getting stronger the smarter way, you're definitely going to want to check out my free course on strength training, which you can find in the link below. Be sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.